So we have three very special speakers this evening, and we thought we might start. We have a lovely dinner afterwards as well, so it's an evening to enjoy together. And our first speaker is our brother Charlie. Sorry. Charlie's our key speaker. Our first speaker is our brother Keithan. He's going to talk to you about his own experience of harmonising.
And the cameraman.
when he's ready.
Okay.
When you'd be ready to, is that okay?
Okay. You want me to sit here?
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Happy Harmony Day.
Happy Harmony Day.
Anyway, so when Margaret asked me to speak of my experience about harmony, I was thinking of how I came. By the way, my name is Keithan. I originally came from Sri Lanka, and now here. I'm in Australia for the last 20 years, so a little bit of journey. It's an interesting journey. I think that's good. I remember in my childhood when I was in Sri Lanka. There's a small town, small village I was from. Almost everybody knows each other. There's no diversity in our community. No diversity. Everybody knows almost everyone. It's a small village, and there's a temple around. We go to the temple area. Everybody meet everyone. So not really have a diversity there. Then I moved to Colombo, the capital city. Then little bit I started to feel slightly because my neighbor is a Sinhalese. I don't know Sinhalese, he doesn't know Tamil, so we somehow communicate. And then, long story short cut, and then I came to Australia. This is a big different. So variety of community, diversity. I didn't know the language very well, and then so lots of people, different variety. Those. And plus, I'm used to go to temple in my country every day. Here, when I came to Australia, there's hardly any temples. Also, this is a little bit uncomfortable for me also to get used to that. So at that time, on the one temple in Westmead, I looked for the Friday to come and run to the temple, and I was tried to meditate in the park nearby. Anyway, then moved the story. Then I get into university. And that's another interesting experience because I was trying to understand the language, trying to learn my course, and also I have multiple personality in front of me. So because language also limited, and then I always look for the I never look for the people who speak English. Means original Australian. I never look for them because I'm not very confident to approach them. So I always look for someone. Anyone looks like Indian, I go there. Or anyone looks like a little bit Lebanese or that kind, they don't know much English, so we often comfortable to hang around with them. Then that's what I learned. Then when I graduated, I came to the workforce, hospital. Then I started to develop a little bit confidence. The reason I developed the confidence, not really my experience, through this meditation. That the time 99, I think, that's the time I started to learn meditation. That's a really key for me to learn about me, and that gave me a lot of self-confidence. So, and after that period of time, I started to feel more confident. I learned more about me. So, and I started to become more confident about myself at work when I started working. So easy to mix with anyone, no problem. Because now I know who I am. I get to know the people a little bit. So easy for me to hang around. Now, still to date, after 20 years, I don't have a permanent place to work. I go place to place every day. Sometimes my boss will be Australian, my co-worker will be Filipino, some will be Indian, there are other people will be variety of language. and opposites. So easy for me to mix now to understand and work with them harmoniously. Only reason, the foundation is I learned myself who I am. I started that deep self-respect I developed through this practice of meditation. That's such a foundation who I am. You know, my self-respect or self-confidence or self-esteem they call it. That's really became a foundation to maintain the harmony of even to date I have no problem at workplace. Not 100%. 99.9 I would say workplace, because the reason is I start to understand the key is because I know who I am, I know my strength and I know my weakness. So when somebody says something about even slight weakness about me, it really doesn't matter because I have my self-respect. I don't depend on someone's opinion to make me feel good because I know who I am. That's a really key thing to maintain harmonies. So because everybody has a bad day, everybody has a good day. So I need to start to remain in this stable condition. I read something somewhere. When you put this ear and this ear together, what shape it looks like? It looks like a heart, isn't it? When this ear and this ear become together, it looks like a heart. And if you write the heart and if you take the H off and take the E off, T off, what's in the middle word? Anybody good in? Yeah. So if you want to touch anyone's heart, you need to use this one to remain harmonious, by the way. So it means learn to listen. We learn to listen with 2 ears, because we all have different beliefs, different understanding, different language, different practices. So it's very important to listen and feel where they come from. So that's what that beautifully said, and when I was read, someone sent it to me. So heart, middle part of the heart is here. We need to really listen, understand. Then, very interestingly, this is workplace, this going on. Then I started to involve with more about Brahma Kumari activities now. We do so many programs, so everywhere. So I've been many programs we've been doing. Very interesting. We, as a group, we work together. Interestingly, we all have a different beliefs. We always have a different ideas. Sometimes we don't agree each other. Still, program run very smoothly, successfully, people get so much benefit. Why is that? Even though we have difference of opinion, difference of ideas, difference of everything, program will very smoothly run. What do you think that?
Because you understand that we all are souls and that we have different beliefs, we don't argue on each other.
Yeah, yes, that's also, yes, definitely.
Because not our program.
Yeah, it means we are doing one purpose. Yeah, we understand our strength and we understood what is the purpose of this event, what's the purpose of this project. Not to talk about ourselves, it to bring benefit to the community, to share the benefit of meditation, bring the awareness of who we are, who they are, and connect the higher purpose. So when we understand this higher purpose, it's not about us, not about we, it's about the one purpose to bring benefit to the community. Then no matter what misunderstanding, that understanding, mixed understanding, sambar understanding, whatever that is, work will get done because we understand who we are, we understand each other, where they come from. That's another interesting example. Then this is our hand, isn't it? Have you ever stopped using this hand? What is interestingly, each finger are different size, is it? Each finger are different sizes. But can you function without one finger? How do you feel if someone chopped the one finger off, how your function would be effective as it was before? Limited. It will be limited. What about 2 finger out?
Again, more.
What is the 3 finger out?
Same.
What is the 4th finger go? So, even though they're different sizes, they are uniquely important. Very uniquely important in my life to get my work done. Very effectively, by the way. You can get things done with our hands. There are people doing it. But it's a little bit challenging. So we have to understand everybody's a different sizes. Everybody's a different personality. Everybody has different understanding. They have different life, different things. Once you understand that key, then you have a happy day every day. Then it's a harmonious day every day. And that's my secret of remaining happy. Most of the people at work tell me, how come then you always remain happy? Especially my patients will tell me, not the staff, because they always stressed out. But the only patient will notice, no matter how busy you are, but you always have a smile in the face. Because the foundation is, I hope you are meditating. The foundation is, if you're not, better learn. The foundation is know who you are. Have a deeper self-respect. Hold on to that. That's the greatest gift I have received here in this Brahma Kumaris learning. I have the true self-esteem. I don't really don't care what others think of me. Truly. If it says something good about me, I will be very happy. If it tells me something bad about me, for a couple of minutes I will think, it's okay, I'll get on my day. Because, thank God, I have truly understand this from the heart. This is me, this is who I am, then I'm sticking to it. My purpose of this life is to be happy. My purpose of life is to be happy. Now my add-on purpose is to share the happiness with others. That's what I'm working on it. That's what I learned here. Anyway, once again, happy harmony day. Om Shanti.
Share her story with you. And perhaps start with a little meditation.
Yes.
We'll have a little meditation.
Happy Harmony Day to all. What is Harmony Day? What is harmony? Why do we celebrate Harmony Day in Australia? It's National Harmony Day, which coincides with International someday of United Nations. I don't know what day of United Nations, but it coincides with
24th
that.
of October.
I know today is also some day of United Nations, which I
yes.
don't remember probably, but for Australia it's National Harmony Day. And what do we mean by that? And sort of international, because United Nations also, the meaning is this only to bring about harmony in the world. It correlates to that. So harmony, what do we understand by harmony? Where do we need harmony? Sorry? In life we need harmony. Where else? What are the various aspects where we need harmony? We need
helping.
Okay. We need harmony between our thoughts, words and actions. There should be an integration. There should be a harmony between all the three. If they are not harmonious, then what is going to happen? I'm speaking something, saying something, doing something. Where's the trust gone then? People are not going to trust me. So we need to have harmony between our words, actions and thoughts. Then what else do we need to have harmony between? Which is similar to this. We should have harmony between our conscious and subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is basically sanskars only, and full of sanskars, and conscious mind is clutter of
Sorry
thoughts.
to
Yes.
interject. International Day for the Right to Truth concerning gross human rights violations, basically harmony.
Yeah, basically harmony. Okay, thank you very much, Devendra Bhai. Okay, so harmony between conscious and subconscious mind. Where else do we need harmony? We need harmony within myself. That is between my conscious and subconscious mind, between my words, actions and thoughts. I need harmony with the people I work with, whether at home or at work. Harmony means, what do we mean by harmony? We are talking of harmony. Harmony means a sweet connection, basically. There is no conflict. There is a sweetness in the relationships, whether it's with me or whether it's with others. So we need to have harmony between people who we interact with, whether at home, whether at work, whether in any organization, and whether we know them and whether we don't know them. We should have a harmonious connection between everyone. So that's what we need harmony with. And we also need harmony with nature. All the 5 elements. We should have the harmony with plants. We should have harmony with earth, with sky. All the 5 elements we should have harmonious relationship with, because all those elements play a vital role in our life. We may not even acknowledge that, but they are vital, very, very important in this whole horizon, in our inner energy and in the higher self. They are playing a very, very important role in strengthening everything or in weakening everything, the way we use all those elements. We will not go into the detail of elements, but let's keep it very, very simple. Harmony, what we use in our daily life with ourselves and with people. So giving you my story a little bit, we'll come back to this question. So where do I come from? I come from a Punjabi family where we have Sikhs and where we have Hindus. In spite of all the terrorism outside, I belong to that time when there was terrorism. But in the close relationships in the neighborhood, people, there were no conflicts between religions, between the thoughts of the people going to temple or going to gurudwaras. So in the surrounding area there was harmony, so we were able to live harmoniously with our neighbors as well. And what is the root cause of harmony? How can we bring in harmony? What is the key to harmony?
Just because we belong to Baba, we are also the same thing.
Okay, forget
Suppose-
Baba. Everybody does not know who's
Oh,
Baba.
okay, yeah.
What is harmony?
Respecting
love, respect, and acceptance. So we love ourselves and we love people. We love everyone. Why do we love? That's what we are here for, to love, to share love, to care for each other, and to have respect for each other. We sometimes do become disrespectful when we have some conflicts or our sanskaras don't match, but that is also okay, because that situation has to come to bring back the disfigured harmony in you and in your relationship with the people. So harmony may not exist all the time. International Harmony Day means it's not there. We are here to keep it there, and we are here to bring it if it is not there, by connecting to people with love, acceptance, and respect. So it reminds us that something is missing if there is any disharmony, whether it's relationship with others or with myself. Maybe I don't love myself, maybe I don't have the respect for others, or maybe I don't have the understanding for others. See, one thing is, Ketan Bhai gave a very beautiful example which I also wanted to give, so I won't repeat it. The example of hand. All 5 fingers are different. This is so simple example to understand that we all are souls. We know that we all are souls. We have read this in scriptures, and most of you have probably realized this as. And soul, part of this universal energy. So the higher self and myself, we all are connected, and we all are basically children of the same higher self. We are connected to the same universal life force, to the same energy, but at the same time there is uniqueness. We all have unique strengths, and we all have unique weaknesses as well at this point in time. So what we have to do is acknowledge our strengths, acknowledge our specialities, acknowledge others' strengths, acknowledge others' specialities, and if we do that, then we are in harmony. But when we start to look at our weaknesses, we stop loving ourselves. When we start to look at others' weaknesses, then we stop accepting others, and that flow of love, that gets broken. And when the love is broken, that flow is broken, then that's where disharmony arises. So the key to keep harmony is remembering that we all are unique. We all are here for loving, caring, sharing. That's the common purpose. But the tangible purpose, one is teacher, everyone has different speciality. One can sing well, one can dance well, one can cook well. So we all work well together, looking at others' specialities. Every one of us has a speciality. And so when I remember this, I have and you have, and there will be sanskaras, there will be times when there will be conflict due to karmic accounts, due to whatever reasons, there will be conflicts. But the purpose of remembering this International or National Harmony Day is that we have to bring back that harmony which is missing, right? And my experience, there's nothing much to tell. It's similar to Ketan Bhai. I came from India and to Australia, and for me, I had never thought of even migrating outside of India. I was so much of patriotic person, and I used to think, why do people go to abroad? Why don't they use their specialities in their own country? And why don't they be productive for their own country? But then I realized that this is again lack of harmony, because I am again restricting myself to my country, whereas I, the soul, the life force, I belong to this universal energy. this universal self, this higher self. So everyone is
Unique.
unique and everyone is lovable, everyone is loving. I can spread love, get love, share love wherever I can. And the purpose is not to bring harmony in just my home or in my town or in my country. It is the international harmony which is going to make this world beautiful. Isn't it? Yes? So where are the differences? All created here by ourselves. So that's where we have to get the harmony back. We all are different. That's what we have to remember. We all have a unique speciality. That's what we have to remember. And we all here, the main purpose of us is to share love, to share specialities, to make this world move very beautifully. That's the main purpose. Rest, whatever we do, we cook, we do this, we do that, we teach, we go to work, that is also there, very, very important. But if that aspect is there, then we can keep harmony everywhere. Our colleagues will love to work with us. Our family will love to be with us. They won't think, okay, this person is not here, how harmonious the house is in their absence. Do we feel like that sometimes? If we, then what we need to do is bring ourselves back to our consciousness that we are unique in ourselves. We are souls, and so is the other person. The source is same. All of us share the common qualities of love, peace, happiness, bliss. So all of us are basically made up of the same component with different roles to do in this world. And that's why I have to respect everyone else's role, and I have to keep going with love. That's what my purpose should be. Love, respect and acceptance, to keep harmony within me and to keep harmony with others. Sometimes it will be difficult, but you have to bring it back. So now what we'll do is, in next few minutes, we'll try to think. So I'll guide you with a commentary, and what we'll do is, we'll think of one person whom I don't have very harmonious relationships with. I'm sure there will be many, but let's remember one whom I don't have, with whom I share most disharmonious relationships due to whatever reasons. And with this commentary, what we are going to do is, we are going to look at one speciality of that person, and we are going to forgive all the hurts or guilt related, all the exchanges we have with that person, and we are going to bring back the harmony within us. Are you ready? Yes? Have you thought of one person? At least one person whom, even if it is you, sometimes you are not harmonious with us, you can think of, we are very, very self-critic and self-sabotaging sometimes. So even if that is the case, then you will remember your qualities, right? Have you thought of one person? Then only we are going to move ahead. Yes? Not many people, then you won't be able to work on. Just think of one person, right? Okay.
One and the only one.
Sorry?
One and the only one.
Only one. Okay. And the most beautiful relationship with God, that will help us to bring that harmony. So my relationship with that God is going to, if I'm not able to create that harmony, I have to take His help to create that harmony. So that's what we are going to do in next 2-3 minutes. Just remember, I am a beautiful soul. A loving soul. Besides whatever I do, the whole purpose of life is to love, share, and care. Love, share, and care. Respect and accept. Today, I stop the self-critic within me and see myself as a soul, loveful, beautiful, peaceful, happy, and harmonious, shining, sparkling star. My original qualities are my main qualities. I forget my acquired weaknesses and bring back my consciousness to my original self, the true loving self. And I see the person I have chosen as a soul. Again, child of the same Father. The Almighty Authority. Point of light. That person is also loveful, beautiful, loving, and peaceful in his original form. Due to various paths of journeys of our lives, we acquired these different sanskaras and opinions. And exchanged some bitter relationships. I bring back my consciousness to my original loving self and that person's original loving self, and forgive myself and the other self completely and blamelessly. And let the Almighty Authority, point of life, light's love flow through to us. Healing us and re-establishing the disfigured illusioned this harmony. Basically, there is complete harmony, complete love. Om Shanti.
Develop that further. Now we have Brother Charlie, who's going to speak to you as well, to share his own experiences and to talk on harmony. Welcome, Brother Charlie.
Try and speak up a little bit so you can hear. Can you hear up the back?
Yeah, we can.
You were
That's
able to
good.
hear me at the back with difficulty?
A little bit difficult, but if I fade into the rain, just wave or something and I will speak loudly. Anyway, it's really lovely to be here. It's my first time in
Shantikun.
Shantikun.
They call it Kund.
Shantikun. But and I would just like to add a happy harmony day to everybody. And I really enjoyed listening to Keaton and Monica's experiences. And I was thinking that if we had time to go around the whole room, I think it would be so fascinating to listen to each one's story. I think one of the most touching things is to listen to the stories of people's lives and what they've been through and how they've overcome. And I actually was born in Australia. I was born in Melbourne and I grew up in Melbourne. But I think from a young age I was looking for something. I was searching for something. My nickname at school, my friends used to call me Swami. So you can understand what I was like. And I went to university, I actually studied architecture. But you know how there was something in me, I could feel this world was changing so much and I couldn't see myself at that moment working as an architect. So when I was 20, I travelled, I wandered the world for 3 years. And I went to Southeast Asia, India, Nepal, and then I went right through Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Africa, Europe. But as I did, I lived in religious communities. I lived with Sikhs, I lived with Muslims during Ramadan, I lived with Hindus, I went and had a swim in the Ganges. I lived with Taoists and Parsis, all sorts of religious communities. And I really loved it, and I think I've always really loved diversity. And I was at a place recently and they were saying that in this country now 27% of the people living in this country were born in another country, and then about another similar amount their parents were. So it's an incredible mixture, and I think now this country of this a country of this size is the most multicultural country in the world. Canada used to be, but now Canada is less than this country. So it's like an experiment, people from all corners of the world, because in the past history people just lived within their own community. But I always feel it's one of the most valuable educations, and personally for me, the more diversity the better. I love to hear and be with people from all different backgrounds. And when I went to school in Melbourne, I went to a school where music was really important. And when I was young, I learned to play the violin. Not very well, I might add. And then I learned to play the flute, but I ended up playing the saxophone. And I was in a boys' orchestra, 100 boys. We used to perform all over the place, actually. And it was a really special experience playing, everyone playing different instruments. There's such a sense of harmony when everyone playing different things, but people loved the unified sound of all that music. And one of the things I feel about harmony is it's about accepting differences. We are all different. It's not just our religion and that sort of thing, but emotionally, mentally, our framework of thinking, how we perceive things. Everyone is different. And yet we can come together for the common good. And it's just like in the orchestra, some would play the drums, some would play the flute, some would play this different instrument. I played the saxophone, but it created a beautiful, harmonious sound. And one of the things I've loved in the Brahma Kumaris, we have a principle about, we call it the master and child principle. And the master and child principle means that each one of us has a right to give our view, to give our opinion, to give our ideas. It's healthy. But once we've given them, we become a child and accept what the majority want, so that we create harmony in a gathering. And I think that principle is a really wonderful principle, because we all at different times in life have to let go what I think and even what I believe to be right to create a sense of belonging and harmony. And I often reflect. What I love about meditation is that you reflect deeply what's in your heart. And for me, the most important thing, and I'm sure for most of us, is the sharing of love. Is that true? And when you share love, true love, what does it create? It creates such a beautiful atmosphere. There is a natural sense of harmony. And I find when my heart is full of love, I feel very relaxed, I feel very easy, I can feel content, and I'm definitely more loving and respectful of others around me. And to me, the most powerful thing in life is a loving heart. A loving heart can break down barriers between people. A loving heart can fill empty hearts. A loving heart can heal hearts in pain. And a loving heart has a wonderful ability to create harmony amongst different types of people. I'm sure everyone here has observed that happening. And yet, when the heart isn't full of love, when there's a lack of harmony, what happens in our mind? What happens? The mind goes into overdrive, doesn't it? And you think, why? We can't stop thinking and analysing. And we begin to really overthink. And I often think, how do you feel when there's harmony? When you're a part of a family, or a team, or a community, a group. It's such a lovely feeling when you feel you belong. I feel it's really innate in the human spirit to want to feel close, to want to belong. It's just a natural thing. But when there is disharmony, how disturbing is it? If there's conflict, if there's differences, if there's opposition, if there's disharmony, I often feel it's not just conflict, it goes to the core of my being, because our natural state is love and to belong. And when that's broken or severed, it hurts so deeply, because there's a lack of feeling of belonging, and we all love to feel we belong. And sometimes I think, how many crises are there in the world at the moment? There's a shopping list of crises. The economy, the environment, so many things. But I think the greatest crisis is relationships. you know, I travel a lot, I meet a lot of people, scratch the surface of most people, and in their hearts they've got a lot of stories to tell, painful stories of disharmony. And that disharmony sometimes affects everything in their life, even including their health, I would say, those feelings. And I often think, you know, what has given you the greatest happiness in life? Most people would say their family, their relationships. Next question, what's given you the most sorrow?
Same.
It's the same answer. You know, our families have given us the greatest joy and the greatest happiness, and on the other side, we all know sometimes the disharmony that can happen. And I honestly feel that we're living at a time where harmony, loving relationships seem to be harder and harder. And if you look at life, we are seeing for the first time in history the breakdown of the family. The family is the social support unit. It's the family that gives us love and belonging. And yet, in many parts of the world, 50% of people don't live in a traditional family. And if they do, sometimes those families are so unharmonious, if there is such a word. There's so many differences. And that leaves such an impact on all of us, and especially children. We're living in a time where there's so many mental health problems, and there's a whole lot of psychological reasons. But you know, once I asked Daddy Jenki, and I think you all know Daddy, who's the head of the Brahma Kumaris, I said, Daddy, what is the spiritual reason for mental health problems? And you know what she said? A lack of love in this life, or a lack of love in a past life. And I honestly believe that's true. Unless the human spirit feels a quality of love, it just doesn't think properly. And we misinterpret everything. We are even living at a time, I remember I was talking to a man who's a builder, he's a developer. And you know, in the past they would always build flats with many rooms for the whole family, but now they build one-bedroom units, a lot of them. Because a lot of people decide it's easier to live on my own than try to get on with other people. It's like a conscious decision. Even if I'm lonely, I feel it's easier to be on my own than try and, you know, get on with others, because it can be so complicated. And I think that how do we really build harmony? And I think that Ketan and Monica were talking about it, because there has to begin with harmony in myself. And the first relationship in life is with me. And quite frankly, if that relationship is not harmonious, if it's not loving, it influences each and every other aspect of my life. And sometimes I think that in each of us there's different personalities. I often feel 3 personalities, and 2 of these personalities create a lot of disharmony, and 1 starts to bring me into a very positive and harmonious state. And the first 2 personalities are both born when I think of myself as a temporary body. It's so simple that when I identify with myself as a temporary body, it gives birth to 2 personalities, my ego and my lack of self-respect. The biggest destroyer of harmony in a family and in the self is ego. It is the most destructive thing. And the first personality is the I of arrogance, or the I of superiority. And when this I is ruling in my mind, I compare with others and I think, I'm better, I know more, I am right. And when my ego is ruling inside, that's when I feel so easily insulted disrespected, not valued, excluded, you know, sensitive. I often ask, anyone sensitive here? I think we're all a bit sensitive. Is that true? You know, all these things, whenever I feel insulted, hurt, sensitive, know the wrong I is ruling my inner system. And when I'm wearing this ego, the hat of identity, my ego is ruling, it will create disharmony in me and disharmony with others. You know the role of ego? Ego will make you feel separate. It whispers in your head, I feel different, I don't belong. And it feels so real inside my own mind, but it's a creation of my own thinking, however real it feels. Ego makes you feel separate from your true self, separate from God, separate from others, and I would say even separate from truth. And so probably the biggest factor destroying harmony is my ego. But I often feel the second I is the ego of inferiority, the ego of lack of self-respect. And this is the I dominating our world. And this is why there's so much disharmony in our world and increasing disharmony. Because this I is the one that compares and thinks others are better, others know more, others are right, others don't love me, others don't respect me. Such a deep feeling in our world, other people don't respect me. And when it comes into my feelings, that's when I feel hopeless about myself, inferior, unworthy, depressed. All those feelings come. There's an epidemic of depression in our world. And in psychology, depression is like a sadness that my dream in life to be loved, to be respected, to be valued hasn't happened. But spiritually, depression is like a mourning for the loss of my true identity. We all want harmony, but when I have ego of superiority and ego of inferiority, it is constantly destroying harmony, and then I blame you. You're making my life like this, you're making my life like that, but actually I'm being deceived by my own ego. And when I first studied meditation and the clarity of knowing that, you know, when I'm under the influence of my ego of superiority, inferiority, that's when one day you feel up, you feel great, the next day you feel down. 1 hour you're up, the next hour, you know. How exhausting is life when your moods are just controlled by others' behavior and others' attitudes and so on. And that's why I think this first step, the third I is the original I, the soul, the original I. It's not enough to know it, and it's not enough to believe it. We are here because we're transforming the knowing and the believing into an experience. Because when I start to experience myself as a soul, I come home to a place of harmony within myself, a peaceful place within myself. And I often feel, you know, a place where I take the pressure off myself to impress other people, to look good, to be noticed. And I would say the great wisdom today is to accept myself as I am. To me, knowledge, wisdom is, because I would say today, and especially children, they see role models, I've got to be like them, I've got to be like them, I've got to be like this. And they put this pressure, I'm never good enough. And you know, there's a big difference in this world between self-confidence. I would say people have a lot of self-confidence to pass exams, run companies. It doesn't mean they love or like who they are. As often I have confidence externally, but internally I sometimes don't really like who I am as a person. And you know, one of the great gifts I felt when I began to realize that I am the eternal soul, We all know it, we all grow up with that. But when you start to practice, at the heart of harmony is starting to see beyond the labels that a body represents and meet another as a brother soul. You look at our world, there's not just conflict between religion and cultures, even between men and women today. It seems to be exacerbated too, you know, because we all think of myself in a limited way. We compare, and so difference, we just see more and more difference. And I think at the heart of harmony is this soul-conscious vision. And I remember some years ago I read a book by a Harvard professor, and it was called Clash of Civilizations. And it was a very interesting book because he was really saying in the modern world we all mix together. And he identified 11 main cultures of the world. And it was like European, North American, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Slavic, African, etc. And their prime value systems. Each culture has important values. But when each culture looks at the other culture through their value system, other cultures don't look as educated or as civilized as our culture. So you know that cultural arrogance is instilled in all of us because of how we identify with my body, and we develop cultural arrogance. And that's when I first heard that actually we're all souls. We're not even men and women, we're not even different religions, but we're souls. This is the absolute building block of harmony. And I think it's something, quite frankly, that people of all backgrounds feel comfortable with and can accept. Because when I feel more harmony within myself, that's the first step. For me, I think the second step is to feel harmony with God. And I often feel there's three sources of love in life. From myself, from my family, and from God. For most of us today, not much love coming from ourselves for ourselves. You know, we're quite self-critical. I think that's true. From God, I think a lot of people have belief in God, but I'm not sure they really feel love, belonging. So our one source of love is our family. So if there's disharmony in the family, my whole life goes into upheaval. If there's a loss of a loved one, my whole life goes into upheaval. What is spirituality? Spirituality is first having a harmonious relationship with myself as a soul. And secondly, a harmonious relationship with God. And I honestly believe that when they become strong, I can manage it. I think we search for true love. I think it's the nature of the human soul. We search for love. And you think, everyone in this room, how much have you given to your families and your children? You've sacrificed so much. But there's a huge human dilemma. And that is that no relationship is permanent. No relationship is permanent. Whether it's time, whether it's change, whether it's conflict, whether it's death, the object of my love will go. And this is the beauty of spirituality. We explore the one relationship that's permanent, the natural relationship of the soul with the lover of the soul, the Supreme Soul, God. And I honestly think one way of saying yoga, where you sit and you look through your third eye, you see, touch the form of God. It's building harmony. It's building a relationship, a natural, loving relationship. It's not just sitting there believing. It's not just sitting there with an intellectual idea. It's a living, loving connection with the lover of the soul. And I've observed, quite honestly, over 43 years I've been a meditator, and I've observed people. And you know, I went to a retreat in the Philippines just 2 weeks ago, and a man arrived. He was a bishop, actually, a bishop of the south of the Philippines, of the Christian church. He was so depressed because there's a war happening between a religious war, Muslims and Christians. His face, you couldn't believe, his face was just so depressed. And when he introduced himself, I said, I've just come. A lot of people just killed yesterday. And during this retreat, he experimented with a harmonious connection with the self and God. The change in his face, I couldn't believe. It was just like there was a different soul in the body. The light came back in the face once again. And he said, I realize that when I'm so affected by the disharmony amongst my community, I can't help anybody. But when I get my own strength back from knowing who I am and connecting with God, I can actually give support to all the priests and nuns that he is actually responsible for. And I think that when we really have that self-realization, harmonious relationship with me, and harmonious relationship with God, we can really have a more harmonious relationship with others. And this is honestly my experience. You know, one thing I love about spirituality, because spirituality is about truth and not self-deception. And spirituality says that I am responsible for how I feel. People will be difficult. People will be rude. People will be disrespectful. It's life. But if I choose to drink it into my mind, that's my decision. That's my decision. I disempower myself by constantly allowing other people's behavior to disturb my mind. And then what do? I blame you for disturbing me. We all know this syndrome. We all know this syndrome. And you know, spiritually, blame is the ultimate ignorance. And I often feel if you find yourself blaming this person is the person who's destroying my life, ruining my life, creating disharmony, know you've stepped away from truth. You're under the influence. You're being deceived at that time. Because when it's my mind and ultimately I'm responsible. I know it's easy to say, but when you hold that truth and you practice, you can actually maintain more self-respect and stability even when you're being disrespected, which happens to each and every human being. So I am responsible for how I feel. And what I understand for harmony is, at the heart of it is good feelings, I would say. You know, any time you talk to anybody, you're communicating on 3 different levels. Like me at the moment, it's what you say, your face, and the feelings you give. And you know, 90% of the impact you have on somebody is your face and your feelings, the non-verbal. And you know, when people get 2 messages from you, one is what they hear and one is what they feel, what do you trust? You always trust your feelings, actually. So that tells us that the feelings which come from your thoughts are the greatest factor in good relationship. Some people wonder why people don't love me, why people don't come close to me, why people don't cooperate with me. If you hold negative thoughts about them, if when they come in front of you, you remember what they said last week, what they did last week, those thoughts, they feel it. It's like a force field and they don't feel close. But when you understand the principle that when you keep your thoughts pure and you have goodwill for other people, they will come close to you and you can change people with the quality of your thoughts. It's not just something I believe, it's my own experience. Experiment with yourself. There is nothing more powerful than good wishes and pure feelings to change a negative relationship into a more positive relationship. Yes, it does take some time. And I would say, for harmony, we have to accept difference. Because if we're rigid and we think, you have to think like me, you have to behave like me, you have to like the things I like, will that happen? You know, research, they say any group, any family goes through 4 phases. And they call it forming, storming, norming, and performing. Took me a while to remember all those things. So when you come and you first, let's say you go to a job, or even when you have new family members or friends, at first it's superficial, isn't it? You're just getting to know them, everything's fine. But the more you interact with people, differences will emerge. It's natural, it's normal. People are different. But often we feel threatened by difference. And so we start to gossip. They're like this, these people, you know. We all know how that happens. Blame, and us and them is created. And you know, they say to move from situations of disharmony and conflict into a situation of more harmony, the main factor is to accept difference. And I would say even in our families, sometimes we put such expectations on each other, and rather, you know, the sign of true love is to allow people to be who they are. And we have goodwill, we want them to be good, but at the same time to accept our family members, our children, our community, because people are different. And when we have that, I would say, that vision of acceptance, people feel belonging and they come close. I remember once there was a woman here in Sydney who was a television personality, and she was coming along to our centre. And once Daddy Jenke was here, and she was off to do a show on television, and she was all made up. She had makeup all over, and she was looking extremely glamorous. And she came to me and she said, "I'm feeling nervous meeting Daddy. She'll think I'm body conscious, you know." And I said, "No, come." And Daddy saw her and gave her a big hug. And you know, she said to me, she didn't see me at all. She just met me as her sister. And she said that made me feel so good, that she looked beyond the differences superficially and accepted me as I am. And I would say, if we want harmony, keep giving. You know, the law of life says, if you want love, give it. If you want respect, give it. If you want cooperation, give it. My experience, you look at the happy people, they're givers. And even if people don't give them love and respect, they keep giving, they keep giving, they keep giving. And you will change people. But as soon as you wait and say, you need to love me, you need to respect me, you will always feel empty. And for harmony, I'm not going to go on much longer. Because we have to have harmony with our stomachs. But I would say one of the most important things is to let go. Things happen. People make mistakes. People do bad things. But if I hold on to all these things and can't forgive, whose life is ruined? It's me. What holds on? People behave badly. It's my ego. My ego says, you said this, you've done this, and we will never let it go. Whose life is ruined? It's my life. One of the greatest aspects of spirituality, and I find that when you feel close to God, when you feel loved by God, you can just, doesn't matter. Why am I holding on to these things? Because it's ruining my life in the present. Forgiveness is letting go all the conditions of my mind that stop me being loving and harmonious. When I forgive, I let go all those things in my mind. I can't love you because you behave like that. I can't love you because you've done this. I can't love you. There's a whole list of reasons. So what am I doing? I'm suppressing my love. Nothing will make me healthier than when I express my love. And I do think that in this world, if we look at the world in the big picture, unfortunately, it just seems to be a world where it's reinforcing the ego of my bodily identity. So I'm harmonious with my group, and everyone else is different from me. Unfortunately, on a national basis, on a religious basis, sometimes on a professional basis, even male and female, this ego of I am this is so profound. And we are spiritual people. And I think the way we can go to our workplaces and our families, experiment, see everyone as a soul. Because when we see the body, within a split second, we make a certain set of judgments about people. Just see the soul, the brother, and you watch how it's an act of love. It's an act of harmony. And I think if we just live our life like that, we will be spreading those lovely feelings of harmony wherever we go. And this is the real harmony. The real harmony is to give respect, and give more respect, even if people don't offer me respect. This is spirituality, this is spiritual strength. Because mostly if people don't give us respect, we feel offended and we have negative thoughts and negative words. But a spiritual person has the strength to maintain respect for others. So I'm not going to go on too much more. But I just want to say it's really lovely to be here. And I was in Delhi just 10 days ago, and we had a wonderful program in Delhi, which I found out was just 1,500 people in the auditorium, Siri Fort Auditorium. But 500,000 people watched it on live streaming, YouTube, Peace of Mind television. Yeah. And as you know, while I was there, I had a meeting with Sister Shivani. She's coming here in August. So I'm saying this because it's nice if you, she's going to all the major cities. So it's nice if you tell people that she will be here, because we'll have a big program in Sydney sometime in August. So I'm mentioning this so you can sow it in people's minds so we get a good turnout that when she comes.
When we will able to know the date, because few of my colleagues want to know the date, they can save it.
You know, I should remember, but I can't.
It looks like the 12th.
I think it's something.
Yeah.
What is that? A Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday the 12th, I think.
Yeah, could be Sunday the 12th.
Probably in the State Theatre in the city.
Yeah. So.
But we don't have the flyers yet.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlie. It was a beautiful talk. And now we've got